Hi, I'm
Hi.
John Kuder, and I'm here with Blair Dunkley, my friend and mentor, and today we are talking about mind models. So Blair, I've been hearing about mindset. I think a lot of people have heard about mindset for a lot of years, and
Yes.
they haven't really heard about mind models. And so what's the difference?
Gee, really thrilled you asked about that because there's a huge difference between mindset and mind models. Now, mindset, just to fill people in, mindset is technically a belief-based model. And mindset works on you believing in what it is that you're doing. Unfortunately, psychology has bought into this whole belief-based model, and they didn't do a whole lot of research until 2020. By the way, mindset has been around for over 100 years, according to Google.
Wow.
Like in the late, like the 1900s, the late 1880s, so like well in excess of 100 years. Mindset was there during the Industrial Revolution. And so mindset was there to help people change their mindset from an agrarian, an agricultural-based farming mentality into bringing people in to work in factories. That's basically what it was there for, to change how to think differently, basically, or what to think about, what to believe, and know that if you believe it, it will happen, basically. And back then, it was close enough because there wasn't a lot of change going on. There was a lot of change for them going on, but the speed of change was not huge because when you got into factory work, you could wind up going 3-4 generations of a factory worker doing exactly the same thing. When does that happen today?
Oh, it doesn't.
Not
Not
even
even
close.
close. Were people
So
teaching teaching mindset actively at that back in those days about like this is what you need to believe to
they
get
were
a certain
starting
thing
to,
done?
yeah, they were starting to operationalize it a little bit, but it really took off in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Okay.
1960s, 70s, and 80s. But
Okay.
it's been big since the late 80s, and where everybody's been focusing on that and going, this is huge. Well, that was at the tail end of the industrial age. And well, not the tail end of the industrial, the information age, I should say. And so the information age got things changing and people had to update faster. And what they got into was this mindset 2.0. Well, that's where I started noticing that mindset sort of broke down. Just to let your people know that are listening to this, I'm the past president of Life Skills Colleges. Life Skills was formed to help people cope, problem solve, and be more successful in life. About 80% of our students were potentially suicidal as well. So we needed things that worked. Mindset didn't show the kinds of predictable results that I needed. And I got trained up as a facilitator in mindset. And so it didn't do what I needed it to do. My dad went into a coma and my mindset left me. My dad was in a coma, by the way, for 14 years before he passed. So I needed something to work that really changed. And that's where I started researching about this stuff called mind models. And mind models are identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable. Identifiable meaning that you can name and label what they are, repeat them over and over again, getting a similar result each time, and duplicatable meaning you can transfer them to somebody else. Basically, it's sort of like the scientific theory.
Okay. And you created mind models, right, out of your work?
Yes. Yeah, because I had the college and I could test that. So
what is a mind model?
A mind model is a thought construct, a way of thinking of how to think, not what to think, how to think, that literally gives you an ability. It's sort of like a magnifying glass for your mind. Lets you focus in, zoom in on some part that's not working, identify what's working, what's not, and what to change, and lets you change it very quickly. But most people don't know how to structure things in their brain to make that happen like this. That's what I needed to create for my students, was a way of getting them to be able to see what is working and see what's not working and change almost instantly as a result. So mind models are those things. An example of a mind model is like part of the 3 E's, which is effective versus ineffective. Everybody knows about the words and the meaning. And by the way, all the mind models are based on sticky behaviors. Sticky behaviors are things that exist in your brain subconsciously already. So I don't have to go and teach you something from scratch. So like the word effective or ineffective, you know what those are. You also know good, bad, right, and wrong. Well, what are the behavioral consequences of good, bad, right, and wrong? We tend to judge ourselves with those. But we don't tend to judge ourselves with the words effective and ineffective. It's effective and ineffective is more like this shirt. Is it effective that I'm wearing this shirt? If it's ineffective, I can go change it, come back, I've changed, it's now effective. But when I'm right and I'm wrong, then it's me. It's me feeling good, bad, right or wrong. And I don't like feeling good or bad. Like I like feeling good, I don't like feeling bad. But part of the time, good sets me up for bad because I can't have good without bad.
Oh, okay.
But I can have effective without ineffective. It just works. This thing works. So there's no judgment.
Mind models a form of self-analysis?
Sort of. And they are all behaviorally based. In other words, well, mindset is all about belief. And people say, well, I got to change my belief in order to change my behavior. But that's just not true. That's what everybody said out there for decades. But it's not provably correct. And besides, think about this. Find a moment in your life where you didn't believe you could do something. You were either forced or you forced yourself to go do it in spite of the fact that you didn't think it would work. And then it wound up working. Yeah, everybody has those.
Sure. And it's a surprise when it happens. Because
yeah, it's a wonderful surprise when it happens. But that proves you didn't need a belief to be successful in order to be successful. You just needed to do the behavior.
Okay, so mind models are not about beliefs.
Correct.
They're not a set of beliefs.
Correct.
They're some way that we change the way we think, right? Change how we think.
I call it sort of a thought construct or a behavior of how we think. Just simply put, it's how we think. Yeah.
Is it important for someone to like constantly be navel gazing or watching themselves? Like I've heard, some people say, oh, well, you've got to just watch your thoughts all the time. You got to catch when you do this or catch when you do that. And who can watch their thoughts all the time?
Exactly. So, I certainly can't.
So how does a person know that they need to use a mind model and then use it? What's that look like?
When things aren't working out effectively for you, then just try them out, see what works. It's that simple. Like, this is not about getting your life perfect. Getting your life perfect, it takes too much effort. It really doesn't work. But most of your life is working for you. You don't need to change it. You don't need a perfect mindset all the time. What you need is to go do the things in your life that are already working for you. And when you run into things that don't, then whip out the mind models. That's all. It's just a very rapid way of course correcting. It's like me going and changing the shirt. When I get, need to go to the gym, I don't want to wear this shirt to the gym. I'm going to go put on a gym shirt. So, hey, this is not effective for me to go to the gym. So it's not effective. What is? Boom, go put one on, go to the gym. It's that simple.
Okay. So it's kind of like very intentionally choosing behaviors rather than just operating on autopilot by default.
Correct.
Is that accurate?
And that's so absolutely true. Autopilot gets you what you've always got. if you want to actually improve your life, you're going to have to take a look at what's working, what's not, and what's something I can change. And that's it. And then
that right there, that's the use of a mind model. What you just did right there.
Yes.
You just demonstrated a mind model.
Really tough, isn't it?
Okay. Okay. So that kind of leads to the next question I was going to ask, which are they hard to use? Are they hard? Is there a big learning curve? Do you have a lot to remember? Are they hard to use? That kind of stuff. Is this like big, do I have to be a big, we have to have a PhD to use mind models?
No. I've taught these, the mind models to people that are, have, learning disabilities. I have a learning disability, and I'm dyslexic. So part of me working on this stuff was mostly for me just to figure out how to simplify my life and get more things done effectively and quickly in my life. So it's shortcuts. These are all sort of like shorthand / shortcuts for getting your life back on track faster. And so if you had, 3 things to remember, like the 3 E's, the most common mind model stack are the 3 E's. And if you can remember 6 words, because you already have the meanings for these words, usually in your brain, like 99% of the time. So all you need to do is ask yourself some basic questions. Is what I'm doing effective or ineffective? If it's effective, is it externally verifiable? Or is it internally? Is it my opinion that it's good? And I just went to good on purpose, because all of a sudden I'm probably judging myself if I'm using good, bad, right, or wrong. But if I go back to, is it external, and is it externally verifiable that what I'm doing is effective? It probably is effective. It's not an internal state. It's effective. I want to do more of that. And then do I wind up judging myself, like going, hey, I'm great, I'm wonderful, wow, look at me, I'm the best thing since sliced bread, which I just am judging myself positively, but notice my head swelling, like, well, metaphorically. So
so that's worth noting, is that you can judge. There's 2 sides of judgment. It's not always negative.
Correct.
But they can be equally ineffective.
You betcha, because then I think I'm doing great, and I'm setting myself up for a rug pull, especially if somebody else is saying, yeah, you are great, that was amazing. Then, the next day, the same person comes along and says, boy, that doesn't work very well. And then I go, boom, and all of a sudden I feel terrible. And that's how come I also teach a thing around confidence versus self-confidence. So that
mind model?
Yes, it is another mind model.
Okay.
And that actually helps people stabilize themselves, because they have to use the 3 E's and the evaluation side of evaluation versus judgment to make a determination about what they did. And they know that they know what they did was effective. When you get to that point, you start building self-confidence. Until that, you may have confidence, but I don't know, most people sort of find confidence fleeting, hit and miss. When they actually, in fact, most people don't understand the difference between confidence versus self-confidence. So a simple definition is confidence is others identifying your effective use of skills, attitudes, and behaviors. Whereas self-confidence is you self-identify your own effective use of skills, attitudes, and behaviors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one's very self-supporting.
Correct.
Self-confidence. It comes from inside. You don't require somebody else giving you praise or feedback to maintain.
No, not at all.
You know that you know.
Yeah, you know that you know, and that's the cool thing. And wouldn't we all like more of that?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
It works great in relationships, in business, in actually every area of every aspect of your life.
Okay.
And yeah, it's tremendous.
So thank you very much. Just to summarize, I wanted to make sure I got this. Mind models are They don't require any belief. They're behavior based. They're easy to learn,
Yes.
easy to remember,
Yes.
and easy to use.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.